and welcome to Math on the Fritz with Mr. Fitz. Today, I caught this article here that just grabbed my attention. Maine could be forced to utilize a different area code in the future. And I was thinking, when it comes to phone calls, how could we run out of numbers with such a small state? I mean, relative to the rest of the country, anyway, Maine really doesn't have a very large population. So to see this, it kind of alarmed me. And being the math people that we are as seniors, it's worth kind of noting, how do you get a number when you get out of where you are and you go to a new place? Maybe you're on a college campus somewhere, or maybe you get your own apartment. What's determining the number that you receive? So, as we go through and answer your questions that you're going to see this week, we're just going to break down how many combinations are there. If we have a 7-digit phone number and all those digits can range from 0 to 9, we're just going to work our way through the process of how many numbers are really available. And what we see is that some of the numbers are not always available. So that's what you're going to work through in your sheet today. But just to give you access to what is actually going on with these numbers, I did a simple Google search, and one of the first things that came up was this Plum Voice blog. And I can't really validate the source, but everything I've read so far seems to be very reasonable. And there's this thing called the North American Numbering Plan, and it's made up of the first 3 digits after the area code, which is the prefix. Again, Maine only has one area code, 207, so we're kind of ignoring that part. The next three there is the prefix. And then after you get the prefix, you have the line, according to this site. And the line is the 4-digit number. So maybe you have a number. But if I search in particular the place that keeps track of all this for the United States, that's the National Pooling. That's their name. I did a search in National Pooling for what's assigned to the state of Maine. And we have this really neat little pattern here. You'll see that the prefix, the first 3 digits of your number, the lowest one assigned in the state of the Maine starts with a 2. So we're not using any numbers. You'll never have a number in Maine that starts with the digit 0 or starts with the digit 1. None of those numbers have been assigned. So when you go to your new place, the lowest number you're going to get is a 200 number, and that's if you're in Portland. So if you go to USM, maybe you're going to get a 200 if you get an apartment off campus somewhere. So just really neat to be able to see that laid out. And then they have X, which is the first digit of the line item. And the really weird thing that happens here is, and I'll go back to the article so that you can see it. In the article, they talk about this idea of releasing in a block system 1,000 numbers at a time. And I know that's something, can't really see it in this one, but as I was reading in different places, Maine releases their numbers 1,000 at a time. And they do it in order to foster competition amongst different carriers. They give different carriers only 1,000 at a time. So we can see Bell Atlantic got the line items for 2000, and then any of the numbers that follow in the line, you can go all the way from 000 to 999. That's the 1,000 numbers is given to Bell Atlantic. But the next block of 1,000, even though it's for that same geographic location, is with a different carrier. And then the Oxford City, that's a different character. So the reason Maine is releasing these in blocks of 1,000 is to try to give different carriers the ability to sell to the public, rather than just blocking out a ton of numbers all to the same phone company and saying, here you go, you're in charge of all these lines. They want to be able to have some competition and some free enterprise. So just really neat as you go through here to see it all. You can see that Gardner has the 203 numbers. Maybe you know someone with a 203 home phone number. But when you go through the more heavily populated places, of course, are going to need to have more of these numbers assigned out to them. And if you're thinking about running out of numbers, and as you go through your assignment, you're going to see there's really a lot of numbers. You wouldn't think that we'd be running out. But notice how these are assigned out. What if Envoy LLC only has 300 customers in this line item here? Well, then they would have 700 numbers that are not being used. So even though it's been kind of assigned out, it doesn't mean that every single number is being used. Some numbers are not being used at all. So when we look and we say there's only so many people in Maine, how come we have a shortage of numbers? Well, it could be that they're all set up for landlines, but people are applying for cell phone lines or something like that instead. So we have this whole strange setup right now where you have companies who have the rights to these numbers, but their clientele doesn't support that. So you end up with some dead numbers, some numbers that are not available because they've been assigned out, but not available to a new customer because it's outside of the service area or they have different carriers. So a lot of the times you'll have businesses buying a phone number out for you. So you may have heard that when you switch to a new company, will keep your phone number. That's because the phone company is buying that number from the other company so that they can allow you to keep their phone. So just something that was really cool I wanted to show you. This is called nationalpooling.com, just gives you a breakdown. There are a lot of other places you could go and things you could look at. You'll be able to complete the assignment this week, even without necessarily going through this entire list. I know this is a really daunting list. Some of the other ones that you can look at, you can do the whole search feature with maybe Command F, and then you could search in for different ones you wanted to see. Maybe it was a big city like Lewiston or Portland or Gardner, whatever it is you wanted to put in, you could search it, and then you'll be able to see where different numbers would be for that type of listing. So anyway, really cool. I hope you have a great time as you go through trying to figure out where these phone numbers come from and really how many of them we're talking about here. If we get down to the very bottom of this assignment, there is kind of an open-ended question at the end. The other website that I was using was allareacodes.com, and again, that's just another way to see what's going on. And why it's only 1,000 at a time is because it's different carriers. The state doesn't want to just give 10,000 numbers to a single carrier. They want there to be a competition to help provide the best service that can be provided. So keep all those things in mind as you complete the work. Just that one assignment for this week. And that's it. Have a great day.